Hey guys, welcome back to Linda's Resin Room. So what I thought we would do today is do something a little different. I have this really deep mold. It's about 2 inches deep, I guess, and I've never used it. I have these in multiple shapes. I think I got them from Resin. I will link them in the description. It came with 3 or 4 different shapes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bloom down in the bottom, and then I'm going to put my backing. And I'm still going to have plenty enough room in this mold that I'm going to fill it with flowers and clear resin. So if you look at it one side sitting up, you're going to see the bloom. And if you turn it around to the other side, you'll see flowers. So I thought that'd be a little different. I have 105 ounces of, 105 gram of resin mixed up. Now I am, even though I'm going to do my white, I'm using this Marabou rainbow ink. It's an alcohol ink. And I've mixed it up. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 drops down in there. 1 drop per ounce. And I'm going to mix this just to give it a little shimmer on top of my bloom. Now I've already mixed this resin, scraped the cup, but if you can see that little shimmer down in there, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's going to give this really pretty shimmer over top of my bloom. I've mixed this for 3 minutes. I'm going to get it in the debubbler. We're going to let it rise to temp. Got my infrared thermometer, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. All right, guys. So I got my resin out of the debubbler. This is the Resin Fans resin. Now stir it up slightly before you check your temperature, because the temperature on the top is going to be a lot cooler than the temperature down in there. So we are 37 degrees, 97 Fahrenheit. So 36, 37. You want it between 33 and you can go all the way up to 40 for your temp Celsius. Now, since it's been 15 minutes since I mixed this up, I'm going to measure out. I think 20 will be plenty. So I'm going to do 20 gram for my white. Now, the reason I'm getting my resin out here is I wanted it to wait till it was at temp before I decanted my white, because then my white and my other resin would be 2 different temps, and I want them the same, because once I start to decant this, it is going to cool down some. So there's my 20 gram. I'm going to throw that out of the way. Now I'm just going to dump the rest of this right down in here. I'm going to check it for bubbles. When you drop your alcohol inks, you can immediately drop them. There is no time to wait. Your temp is already good, so you're good to go to drop your inks. As long as your temp is where it needs to be to do a bloom, you can drop your inks. I drop my inks before I mix up my white. That way it gives the inks time to spread and move and do their thing before I put in the white. If I let that white go in there and my inks are still moving, my white's going to move out of place and my petals aren't going to look good. So let's get all that off there. Okay. Now I'm going to clean this stick off. Your resin does cool down once you put it in there. It's not going to stay as warm as it was. I don't see any bubbles around the edges, or maybe one in the corner here. Let me look. Yeah, there's one in the corner. I'm going to pluck that out. I do not want bubbles. I think there's one there too. On those corners, I want them to be smooth. I don't see one there, I don't see one there, and I don't see one there. Okay. Now, I wouldn't suggest using a torch close to the edge of your mold, but I don't have a torch. This is just a little tiny lighter. I'm still not getting near the edge of the mold. All right, now we can go ahead and drop our inks immediately after we decant, as long as our temperature is where it needs to be. I'm using Resiners inks. I have green, azure, and light yellow. These do have to be mixed up because this yellow, I noticed, does settle. I have not tried the Resiners ink, so I thought I would try it today. So 1, 2, 3. I'm doing 4 yellow because yellow kind of has a tendency to disappear. And then I'm going to take my green. I've already opened these before I started. And I'm just going to go around and drop it wherever you want it to be. These do not have to be in a pattern. They don't have to be any specific way. Just be mindful of the colors you use, that they don't turn into a brown muddy color if they mix. And then I'm going to drop blue around the edge. I really don't want it to touch the edge, but I do want it close to the edge. Kind of hard to get these inks. They're kind of just dropping out on me. Okay, well, did you see what I mean? This blue's just spitting, and that one touched the edge, which it will be okay. Now, you can take, if you want, and you can swirl them around however you want. But you can see the inks moving. That's why I wait to do my white. Now, I like bloom paste from Pouring Your Heart Out. If you can get this best, easiest blooms, you do 1 small drop, so you open it halfway. You can open it all the way, and that's going to be too much. But if you will open this, just hold it, twist it 1 time toward you, and then squeeze it. I keep it stored upside down so that I don't get a bubble. Squeeze it until you get a little drip on the end, and let it drip on its own. I have 20 gram. I'm going to do 2 drops. It's 1 drop per every 10 gram or 10 milliliter, however you want to look at it. But it's so easy, and it tells you on the bottle to do that. If you're going to use the Lutz Resin Ocean White, it's a lot more pigmented. It's much more heavy. So I would take, and I would only use 1 drop to every 30 milliliter, every 30 gram. You want your white to look like skim milk. Now that I'm mixing up my white, my alcohol inks have stopped moving. That's the whole point of doing the white after you do the alcohol ink. The ink does have to have time to stop moving. It usually only takes it a few seconds to stop. So by the time you mix up your white, they've already stopped moving and you're good to go. So you're not sitting and just waiting for inks to stop moving before you add your white. Now, white can be streaky if you've not mixed it up good. So scrape your stick, scrape your sides and everything when you're mixing your white. Okay. And I can feel the cup's pretty warm. It's not real warm. I've done blooms a lot higher temperature than this before. I like to do 33 degrees when I decant Celsius, but I go up to 40. 33 gives me more working time, but if I put it in the debubbler, usually my resin is a lot more than 33 when I get it out. It doesn't take 10-15 minutes to get up. Now, a lot of people put their white in a piping bag, which you can do. You can use your stick and you can draw it down in there. Today, the stick probably would be the smarter idea, but I'm just going to pour. And I'm just going to start in the center, and I'm just going to spiral this out. This is going to be a funky bloom. See how it's swirling around? I don't want to touch my sides though. And I don't want to get too heavy. I do like to do little swirls, little thin swirls around. And I just went down the side. What I said I didn't want to do. That's okay. It'll be all right. Any place that you might have dropped that looks heavy, pull it through. or it will blob on you. And the way that mine swirled, it's a possibility. I'm going to pull that one together. Okay, now let's do our design. I'm going to pull in at each one of these, and I'm going to pull out on the corners. When you do this, just go across the top layer of your resin, and I don't go all the way in because then you have a tendency to blob. And I don't do this inner layer out because it's too small, and if I go out, it blobs on me. So I like to start from a little bit further out. So resin pulls from the out in to bloom. So if you get that, I've already got it, didn't I? Now I'm going to have to do it on these. Hopefully it doesn't blob on me. Okay. The resin cures from the outside in. So it's going to pull all of that white in. That's why the more you got in the center, the closer it is up and down, it's just going to blob because it has nowhere to go other than down. All right, now I start in the center, and I'm just going to swirl this out, and then I'm going to swirl it back in, and that's it. Hopefully this bloom turns out pretty. It's a lot of green, and that looks more orange in the center, doesn't it? And I've still got white left. So we are going to get our dump mold, and we are just going to put this right on in here. No problem. This way, if you keep a big dump mold, something that you're like, oh, I really don't want to use that much resin to make something, but I'd love to see what it looks like, this is a great way to do it. Then when you do demold it, you'll know if you want to spin the resin that much to make it and make it how you want it. Okay. Is that my cup of used? Yeah. All right. I hope that blooms. Really doesn't look like he's doing a whole lot, does it? He's good and warm. Sometimes it's your mold too. Now this area here is liable to blob. Do you see how heavy that is? That's probably going to blob. Same way with some of these other areas that look a little heavy. Here, that's probably going to blob. I don't know if I can get them to kind of swirl out just a little bit maybe to prevent that. But we'll see if this is going to bloom, and hopefully it'll be pretty. But I'll see you guys when it's time to put it back in if this blooms up well. I'll see you then. Okay guys, so this is cured up to where it's not sticky anymore. It's still very bendable, but we can go ahead and add our layer because it's cured. This won't mess up. And we're going to do this Himawari Yellow by Eye Candy. It's a pigment paste. I think the yellow will bring out the center yellow. And I really like this color. I think I like all colors. I think I say that about every color, don't I? I really like this color. I really do. Yellow and green's my favorite colors. Which I think all colors are very, very pretty. And I'm glad the green pulled in. It looks like it's bloomed very well. I hope it's not very blobby on the other side. Now, this is a clear mold, so we could pick it up and turn it over and look to see if we could see through it and see how it looks. But it looks like it's bloomed pretty well on this side, so we're moving forward. All right, let's see. I'm going to take about that much yellow. Can you all see that? And that's what I'm going to put in here. Hopefully this is an opaque yellow. Some of the Eye Candy colors, the pastes are translucent, but I want an opaque yellow or behind this. And I do need to mix this resin up more. I've only mixed it for a minute maybe. I just wanted to get my color in there before I mixed it completely. Yeah, I think that's it's a little translucent. I'm tempted to put a little more in there. I think I will. Now, anytime you're going to take some of your color and you're going to add more and you're using the same stick, make sure you clean this stick off very well, because did you see what I just did? That will cure inside your paste, and you don't want cured clumpy pieces in your paste. I've done it before. So I'm just going to get another good little scoop on there. You guys can see that. And I'm going to put that in there. Now let's see. That'll make a difference. Sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. I don't really want it shimmery. I want a solid color, and that's why I don't want to put a mica powder in there. Mica powder has that shimmer to it, and I don't want that. I want just a flat, solid color, because we're going to add flowers on this side. Okay. Let's see if I can get, I can't even hold still. I missed the cup and put it over the edge. Gets on my nerves. I need to learn to slow down, I think. Try to rush it. I can see that my paste still isn't mixed up, but yeah, that's where I want it. That's more opaque. Can't see through my stick. Because this is going to be a thin layer of resin. And I do want, I want to leave enough room to put my flowers and cover it in a clear coat. So, I don't want much. Resin-wise, this is still the resin pans. I'm sticking with the same resin. I mixed up 50 gram, 51 gram of Part B and 56 gram of Part A. So I have 97 gram resin. So a little more than 3 ounces. And I think that's going to be plenty. You don't really need a whole lot for a backing. And I don't want, like I said, to take up too much room in this mold. So I do want to stack some flowers in there. My flowers I picked the other day. At my mother-in-law's house, she has all kinds of gorgeous flowers over there. And I told her I was going to go through there and pick me some to dry out. It was a few weeks ago. And use them in my projects. And she was fine with that. She didn't care. So, all my flowers that I'm going to use will be from around her property. She's always got such pretty flowers that she plants. Okay, I think we've mixed long enough. We've scraped her sides, we've scraped the stick. I think my resin's should be good and mixed. So, I'm going to put this in the debubbler, guys, and I will be back, and we will pour. I'll see you in just a moment. Alright guys, so I got it out of the debubbler, and we're just going to pour this in here. I'll put it in there for 6.5 minutes. And like I said, I just want a thin layer to cover my bloom. Okay. I don't think we're going to need it all. Just want to make sure it's going to every corner. No bubbles. Okay, the bottom filled in there. Alright, that's all we need. Really don't need any more in there. Just take my little torch. What can we put yellow in? I'm so sick of doing turtles. Turtles, turtles, turtles. That's all I feel like I've done lately is just turtles. Where's the other part to this? Okay. I think we got enough to do the bottom. I can fix the top later. This is just a little jar. Doesn't hold much, but I think all that yellow will fill this up. This is an into resin mold. And what I will do is I will paint up the top part there like I usually do with this jar with some mica powder. And when we do the clear on this, we'll finish the top. I'll mix up a little extra and we can do all that then. Since it's just one color and we can usually get it to match as long as, like I said, it's just a pigment paste. I didn't mix anything other than just the paste, so we should be able to get the same color for the lid. Okay, perfect amount to fill that up. Drip that last little bit off there. I see something in it I'm going to have to pick out. Do you guys see that? Here we go. Let me clean this off so I can throw it to the side. Now, get my dotting tool. I have no clue what that is, but we got it. Alright. And usually with this, it doesn't get bubbles. Usually does pretty good, but I am picking around the edge just in case one got caught. Because sometimes they will, and you won't know it. Okay. Clean this off. Alright guys, we'll let this cure up. We'll come back and do our flowers. I'll see you in just a little bit. Alright, so this is cured up. And I've got all of my flowers and things that I have dried myself that we're going to arrange in here. Not exactly sure how I want to do this, but we're going to attempt it. Now, I think I'm just going to cut some of this greenery down just a bit. Because I don't want it that big. Okay. Then I'm just going to arrange a few pieces here and there because I know my flowers are going to go on top of this. So you're not going to see a lot of it. And these are very prickly. Like I said, I got all of this from my mother-in-law's. Well, I'm just trying to cut it to pieces that will look right. And we're just going to lay flowers on top of these. So didn't really, you're not going to see a lot of it, I don't think. Okay. I'm not the greatest with flowers, but anyways, I do have some really pretty ones. I've already dusted all the silica gel that I can get off. Isn't that pretty? And there's some really pretty ones down in here. Different colors. Continue to dust off what I can. I've got little ones and I've got bigger ones and I've got something on my, just dropped a silica bead in there. Okay, I'm going to trim this off to the bottom because I want it to lay flat. And I'm going to pour the resin on top of this. I think I'll stick him over there. Oh, there's a yellow one. He's more orange. That's pretty. I want them to be where I can see them. Oh, those little things are so prickly. Some of them fell apart as I was drying them up. Some of them held together very well. I just know I want that one to be my center. I think that is so pretty. Shake off the rest of this silica beads and sand and what have you. That one kind of fell apart a little. Don't want a rose. A rose doesn't really fit into my theme, does it? Stick that one there. One kind of fell apart. A lot of them, like I said, have fallen apart. Now it's got quite a bit of sand down in there. Let's see if we can get that out. I've got roses and things that I've dried elsewhere. Okay. I'm going to stick, well, that's two of the same color together. I really don't want two of the same color together. What about this? Alright, and see, you can't really see the greenery. You can see a few little pieces in there, but you really can't see a whole lot. And they're liable to float around anyways. We're going to do this in layers. And hopefully it doesn't all float away. And it all looks pretty. But that is that. Now I'm going to mix up 8 ounces of resin. Probably, I may not need it. I may need it all. I'm not real sure yet. The little orange one doesn't want to stay where I can see him. And I do really want to see him. He's the only one I've got in that color. And this one's kind of flopping around too. There we go. I think that's okay. Maybe. Well, I'm just not happy with this corner down here. Okay, I'm going to put all of those down there. And then I'm going to lay this one right on top. I know why I didn't trim the bottom. Did I trim his? Yeah. Okay. Now, let's get him right down in there. Okay. Much happier with that. Alright guys, I'm going to mix up my resin and we'll be right back. Alright guys, so I put this in the debubbler for 15 minutes. I did have to babysit it for the first 10 minutes because it would bubble up and I'd have to release pressure. So let's put this right in here. I'm going to drizzle it right over those flowers. This resin, I will show you in just a minute. It's just a bunch of letters, I think the name is. but it's a deep pour resin. You can pour it 2 to 4 inches. It's very thin, and that's why I like it. It should get right between all of these little petals on here and hopefully not have any bubbles. It degasses very, very well. And they had it on sale on Prime Days on Amazon. So I knew I had to buy some more because I've used it before, and it's a good resin. And deep pours are a little more expensive than others. It is a 2 to 1, so it is 2 parts A, 1 part B. I did 75 gram of part B and 175 gram of part A. Now the cup that I'm using that I have mixed this up in, it is marked. So if you have a 1 to 1 resin or a 2 to 1 resin, it's very simple to use this cup to do your measurements if you want to do it that way. And I'll show it to you guys here. And once I get this poured, I'm just trying to pour over all the flowers so that it can go down in all those little petals. And then it'll just kind of roll out the bottom. And I'm doing it slowly because I don't want to create any new bubbles. Because it did, take some time to degas this in the debubbler. It degasses very well on its own. You don't have to have a debubbler for this resin. I've used it many times and never put it in a debubbler, and there's no bubbles. So just making sure I get all those petals coated, because if this dries up and it's not completely covered, I do want those petals to be cured in resin. Try to lay that one down. Really, I don't know if you will or not. We'll try it. These are such pretty flowers. I am going to do this in layers. I'm not doing the whole thing because I don't want my flowers to float up. I think that's deep enough for now. You probably wouldn't even need a deep pour for this. No more than what I have poured it. I have it maybe ½ an inch. There are some regular epoxy resins that you can pour up to ½ an inch without a flash cure. Just going to scrape this cup. Sorry guys if it's making too much noise. Now deep pour takes a long time to cure, so I'll come back probably in about 8 hours to do my next layer. Just so it is somewhat not liquid, because it's going to be liquid for a while. Okay, I'm going to drain this over here on my mat. This looks really good. Just pushing my flowers how I want them down in there. There we go. I don't see any bubbles, so that is awesome. Okay. Now, our little extra back there in the back, you don't want to forget him. Let me throw that out of the way. What I did is I painted up the ladybug, the water droplet, and the center of the flower. For the ladybug, I used Candy Apple Blossom by Laura's Art Corner. For the center, I used dark brown by Pearl X Jacquard. For the little water droplet, I used Skyland Blue. And then for his little head, I used this MTBZJ black mica powder. And I actually think that came with the resin I'm using today. This is the resin. It's MTBJZJ. It is pouring 2 to 4 thick, slow drying special art epoxy resin. It is a 2 to 1. It tells you that on there. And I bought it in a 3-gallon jug. So guys, I'm only showing you the part B. Those are a little big to hold both. Eye candy, there's 20% or 10%. I always say 20. There's a 10% discount code in the description box. And I'll also flash it on the screen. The Himawari yellow, which I used for the bottom, I mixed it up. And this is just the Resin Fans resin, the same resin we used for the bottom and for the bottom of this. And I've just let it sit for a few minutes. I didn't throw it in the debubbler or anything. I mixed up 22 gram of part B, 25 gram of part A. Epoxy resin part B is a little lighter than part A, and that's why I use a little more part A than part B, because I use, if you go to Julie Cuts Pouring Your Heart Out YouTube page, she used to post in her videos a chart, and in that chart it showed you how to mix up 2 to 1, 1 to 1, and 3 to 1 resins using weight instead of volume. I use that because I have found that if I do it using her chart, then I have less waste of part A. I usually use just about everything in both jugs and don't have any waste. Alright guys, I don't see any bubbles down in there, but that don't mean they're not, because y'all know how this flour is. It gets bubbles trapped down in there sometimes around those petals, and they're kind of hard to get out. And I don't see any around it through it. It looks pretty good. Alright, and I did have some extra left, so you know what we're going to do with that? I already thought about this. Where is it? Yes. This is another into resin mold. It's a brooch flower. I think this mold is very, very pretty. So I'm going to take my Gold Super Sparkle from Color Passion. This is just like the diamond dust that you use, except it's gold. And I love it, especially in yellows, because you can take just a little tiny bit of this, not much. Easy to overdo. And it's going to put a little sparkle down in there. Now this is already a diamond cut mold, so it's going to sparkle anyways. But with that gold, maybe it'll do a little different, a little extra. Now the more you stir that sparkle, the more it breaks up. So it will spread. Now this being a paste, sometimes you have to add a little more than what you normally would if you were using a mica powder. Pastes are heavier, they're more opaque, so it takes a little more to see that sparkle. Or I find that. Okay, I can see it. I don't know if you guys can see that sparkle in there, but I can. Alright, now with this mold, I start very slowly and let it run down into the center. I should have sprayed this with some alcohol. I'm still going to spray it because there's little edges to these flowers, and spraying it with alcohol will help prevent bubbles from those little tips, and it'll let that resin just flow down in there. And then we just fill it up. Do not down my homemade mold, or you'll have a lot of cleanup. Okay. And there is that. Now I've got a little bit extra, but I don't want to do anything with it. We have been working on this mold for a while, so we're getting there. We're just going to dump all this right down in here. And this is a leaf tray. It's quite large, very thick. So I suppose you wouldn't have to fill it all the way up. You could probably leave it quite a bit thinner if you wanted. But it is huge. I don't even know where I got it. I'll try to find it when I demold. When I do extras like this, I only put the link to this mold when I demold it. That way it's not in every single video, because we're not getting to see what it looks like. Alright guys, you know, when I do this I usually like to kind of roll it around to see if I can get it to kind of go all the way around it. But sometimes it'll do it on its own, because I like that you can see all of our colors through there. I like to see that layers. So just roll it all the way to where it's going up the side everywhere. And there we go. Now it'll flatten out on its own, and we have that yellow layer in there with everything else. That's going to look funky, isn't it? Alright. Is that a bubble? Okay. Alrighty guys, let's let this cure up. We'll come back and put our next layer on. I'll see you guys in a bit. So I think this is cured up enough that we can go ahead and add our next layer. So I have roughly 10 ounces. This is still the 2-to-1 resin, the deep pour, because we're going to finish filling this up. So I did 97 gram of part B and 225 gram of part A. I mixed it for 4 minutes and then I put it in the debubbler. And you can see it didn't take long in the debubbler this time because I was slow. I didn't incorporate too many bubbles. I didn't mix too quickly, which is what I usually do. So let's just pour this in here. I'm still going to coat on top of those flowers that are exposed. They should be good and cured to where bubbles won't stick to them or get down in them or what have you. Or I hope so anyways. Now this one's a little higher than the rest, so I don't know if we're going to fill him completely yet or not. I hope so, because I can mix up some more if I need to finish filling this all the way. But I think we might have it. So I'm not going to fill this all the way to the top. There's no point. I just want to make sure that all of my flowers are covered, and they are, because I don't want it too deep. I have just clear resin above my flowers. Okay, let's scrape all of this out of here. Now this resin's really, really thin. So you can see it just kind of pours out like water. Degasses very, very well. It's a really good resin for a deep pour. I really like it. I saw that craft resin has came out with a deep pour. I'm hoping to get to try it soon, because I like craft resin. Okay. This will drip if I don't get all this off of here. And I do not want resin dripping on me. Okay. I'm going to turn this up and let it drain. Now, I'm mixing this just a little bit in the center here because of I did scrape that cup, and I do want to make sure that the resin is cured completely. Okay. So I want to make sure that I didn't have any spots where I scraped that were not mixed. Okay, let that drip off. I think we're okay. I think I can clean my stick off here. All right, now let's get us a little dotting tool, because there may be some bubbles stuck to some of these flowers, and if there are, I want to pluck them out. Because I see one right there. I see a couple on this flower as well. And if I can, there's one I can't get to come loose. He does not want to let go. There we go, I got him. And he was a fighter. And you can see by the flowers moving that the bottom layer is not cured. It's still very, very soft. Okay, and then there is a bubble right here in the center of this one that I see that I want to pluck out. I'm not going to spray this with alcohol because of this is my top, and I do not want that film that alcohol leaves on your resin. A few little bubbles on the centers. Man, they don't want to let go either. There he goes. And that one's floated to the top. I'm going to see if I can press him back down in there and get him to stay. I should have waited a little longer, I think. I think me messing with them, trying to get the bubbles loose, is popping them loose from the layer they're already on. There we go. I think I'm going to leave it alone and let that cure up. I am going to watch it for a while just to make sure none of my flowers float. Alright. Now usually those bubbles will pop on their own, but I am going to add just a little heat. And I see a bubble. There we go. Okay. I think I'm good with the rest of it. There might be a bubble or two down in there, but I think it looks good. I don't see any. That doesn't mean I'm not missing one. I wonder if I can. I do see one down in there. Okay. That's a flower, not a bubble. I'm just going to spin it around and check. Okay. I don't see any more. Maybe some little bitty ones. Like really little ones. And they do not want to let go. Okay, I think I got it. Alright, and that one's floating back up, isn't he? I'm going to press him back down again. Yeah. Really should have waited. It's me messing with these has really got those kind of floating to the top. Now there's a bubble. Alright guys, I'm just going to have to keep babysitting this to make sure my flowers stay down. I may have to come up here in about an hour and poke them down again if they float back up. That's what I get for being impatient. Alright guys, I think that is it for now. Pop those little bubbles we got to come up. Alright, we will let that cure up and come back for a demold. I'll see you guys then. Alright guys, so this is cured up. My flowers did float a little bit. I wasn't able to keep them all the way down in there. So I have mixed up 12 ounces of resin. I know it's going to be more than enough, but I've got another project I'm doing. I just wanted to make sure I had enough. Now this layer is much more cured than the first layer. So I know my flowers aren't going to go anywhere this time. I did put this in the debubbler for 10 minutes. We're just going to pour this around. I do got to make sure all my petals are down in there good. I don't know, is that a bubble that I can get out, or what is that? Do you guys see that right in the middle of that flower? If you got a bubble and you can pick it out, then the resin will go down in there and you'll never even see it. It will kind of disappear. Yeah, there's a bubble. You didn't see the bubble until you started feeling it. Now do you see how it's gone? Good deal. Now I could have sanded this down too to get rid of those little pieces that were sticking up, but I didn't want to. Just want to put a little layer on here, because I will have to top coat this anyways and trim the edges. And all right, here we go. I don't want to use any alcohol on this. There's a bubble. Okay. All right. And that little bubble I popped that came to the top, just going to put a little heat. Alrighty guys, I did go ahead and demold this one. I don't know if you all can see those little gold flakes in there. Just because I wanted the mold for another project I was working on as a leftover. Love that mold. Alright, we'll see you back in a bit and we'll get this demolded. I'll see you guys then. Hey guys, we're fully cured. So let's demold and see what we look like. You've already seen the flower that I demolded. Let's do our little flower box. This is the bottom, it looks like. I'm going to trim up the bottom. This is a matte mold, this little box. Okay, don't see any bubbles. A little tiny bubble there. All right, let's see if I can work this out. Okay, I'm going to finish painting up the ladybug. I'll probably take some gold through here. I'm going to repaint the water drop. I always end up having to do that. And then I might shine him up. I might take him outside and, well, after I paint him, I will. I'll take him outside and I'll spritz him and make him glossy. Okay, now for this. I will have to sand down the top and the edges and do a top coat on this. Let's get this out. It's very sharp. I can see ooh, our bloom turned out gorgeous. I love blooms. Isn't that pretty? That is gorgeous. You can see where it had completely cured. So you can see the line between the layers. And I was afraid of that. This is why you can't see these, because it wasn't completely cured. But I couldn't stay up all night and wait. So now I got a line. That's okay. But I'll sand this down. Ooh, there's some definitely sharp edges around through there. Sand the top. Put some glue on the back to protect that. And then top coat this up. That is pretty, isn't it? I hate that I can see my lines between my layers. But it is what it is. Alright guys, I'll see you back for the next video. Bye for now.